हरते हो सबकी पीड़ तुम, हरते हो सबकी पीड़ तुम, मेरी भी तो हरा करो, हरा करो। हरते हो सबकी पीड़ तुम, हरते हो सबकी पीड़ तुम, मेरी भी तो हरा करो, हरा करो। हरदम हरि हृदय हरा, हरदम हरि हृदय हरा, ऐसा ही तो किया करो, किया करो। सीधी पुकार कर रहा प्यासा पपीहा आपका, पीपी पुकार कर रहा प्यासा पपीहा आपका, प्यासी तुम्हारे दरस की, मैं प्यासी तुम्हारे दरस की, बन के घटा गिरा करो, गिरा करो। हरते हो सबकी पीड़ तुम, हरते हो सबकी पीड़ तुम, मेरी भी तो हरा करो, अमृत से तुम भरा करो, भरा करो। हरते हो सबकी पीड़ तुम, हरते हो सबकी पीड़ तुम, मेरी भी तो हरा करो, हरा
Good morning, everyone. Is Eva there? Oh, she's on vacation in Corfu. Let me read the schedule. 1 second, sorry. Okay, we have starting a song by Vikas, River from My Heart, and then a talk by me, then a talk by Tina, the Japji. I'm looking forward. Then we're gonna have a short Diane session to compose ourselves and put our attention toward our beloved Ishwar Puri Ji, and then we're gonna listen to one of his talks. And then we will meditate together and enjoy inside with Master, God willing. Okay, so I'll play Vikas right now.
दिल का दरिया बह ही गया, इश्क इबादत बन ही गया, खुद को मुझे तू सौंप दे, मेरी जरूरत तू बन गया, बात दिल की नजरों ने की, सच कह रहा तेरी कसम, तेरे बिन अब न लेंगे एक भी दम, तुझे कितना चाहने लगे हम, तेरे बिन अब न लेंगे एक भी दम, तुझे कितना चाहने लगे हम, तेरे साथ हो जाएंगे खत्म, तुझे कितना चाहने लगे हम, बात दिल की नजरों ने की, सच कह रहा तेरी कसम, तेरे बिन अब न लेंगे एक भी दम, तुझे कितना चाहने लगे हम, तेरे साथ हो जाएंगे खत्म, तुझे कितना चाहने लगे हम, तुझे कितना चाहने लगे हम, इस जगह आ गई चाहते अब मेरी, छीन लूंगा तुम्हें सारी दुनिया से ही तेरे इश्क पे हाँ हक मेरा ही तो है कह दिया है ये मैंने मेरे रब से ही जिस रास्ते तू ना मिले उस पे ना हो मेरे कदम तेरे बिन अब न लेंगे एक भी दम तुझे कितना चाहने लगे हम तेरे साथ हो जाएंगे खत्म तुझे कितना चाहने लगे हम तुझे कितना चाहने लगे हम
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Circle of Lovers. Welcome to the warmth of God, the warmth of Ishwar Puri Ji. Welcome to the Shabd, to the ship of God, where we all sit together, hold the hand of Ishwar Puri Ji, and go ahead forward towards our true home with His grace, with His mercy, with His love, and we go along. How beautiful. We are blessed that every day we sit together. Um, it's the hi, Dr. Chand. I was wondering where you are. I don't like it when I don't see you. Yes. Um, so yes. Welcome, my dear holy family. I was listening to one of Ishwar Puri's talks, Ishwar Puri Ji, our Holy Father's talk in the morning. And he was, I'm going to play that video. I just played it on random today, and he was talking about how God gave us 2 ears and one tongue. And there is a reason why he gave us 2 ears and only one tongue. And he said, he answered the question about the reason, and he said, we're supposed to listen twice more than we talk. And this is what the gist of his talk is that God gave us 2 ears, so we can listen twice as much as we talk. Because when we talk too much, we dissipate our energy. We dissipate our energy, and we lose our attention from putting it at the third eye center, at the doorway of the kingdom of God, where Master is waiting with open arms. And we use talking so much. I guess when he was in Brazil. Have you ever met Brazilian people? They talk and talk and talk and talk, and it's nonstop. And I swear, because I had Brazilian friends, and I could see that they're always talking. And he was also saying, because I think he experienced the same thing. He gave that talk, and he was saying that he was sitting on a bus, and there were two people talking to each other, but they were talking at the same time. They were talking at the same time, and he's saying, "What's the use of too much talk?" And at the same time, where people are talking but not listening to each other, they're not listening to each other's story. Each one has his story, and each one is talking. And he was saying that it's better to listen than to talk. And Rumi says that in silence, the secret is wrapped in silence. The secret of God, the mystery of God is wrapped in silence. And from silence, silence becomes vocal. Rumi says silence becomes vocal. And how does it become vocal? That the inner music of the soul, the inner music of the spheres, the shabd, the nad, the kalima, that comes out of silence. That comes out of silence, and of us and able to hear it. We have to be silent. We have to be silent and focused. And he was saying, the master was saying also in his talk, that when people talk, they're usually talking gossip and gossip about each other. And that's, he's saying, that's a bad habit that takes our attention from God, from the kingdom of God, and just dissipates our energy. It dissipates our energy and takes us to the lower chakras. Yesterday, I told you I want to read to you from Sant Kabir about the ABC of spirituality. The ABC of spirituality. And what are the ABC of spirituality? The first step of spirituality, that is to abstain. To first, we get some requirements from the master. The most important thing, if we are serious about the path of love, is that we have to obey master's words. Now, even if we don't understand why, it's good it's good to obey. And what does the master say? The first step of initiation, that we are to become vegetarian, and we are to stop all intoxicants, all drugs, all tobacco. And there is a reason for that. I remember when I was initiated, and there was representatives of Sant Singh there, and I didn't know why to become vegetarian. I didn't know what's the reason to become vegetarian, and what's the reason not to eat eggs. And I asked that question. And one of the disciples of Sant Singh, his name was Anish, and he answered me just one with two words. And he says, because Master says so. I'm like, okay. I agree. If Master says so, then there is a reason, and to obey Master. So to obey Master and to on the path of love is the most important thing. And that is how the masters see if we are serious or not. If we are serious or not, that the people who accept the conditions of initiation, the vegetarian diet, no intoxicants and no drugs, that means they are ready to change themselves, ready to change themselves. And on the path of love, we have to change ourselves. It is very, very important that we have to learn compassion. We have to learn love, and love for the animals is very, very, very important. I came from a family that hunted, and the first word that Santakar Singh told me when I had my private interview with him, when he looked at me, he went like this, and the first words that came out of his mouth was, "You developed your love for God, now you have to develop your love for animals." Because he could see my bad karma, and it took years of like I could feel that it took some time to clear all that from my system, all that bad karma from my system. And nobody can develop spiritually without these steps, because then they will be hindered. They will be hindered and they cannot go forward. It's an obstacle. It's an obstacle to become 100% love, to become pure love. So I'm going to read to you the words of Saint Kabir, and they are very, very, it comes in poetry, and they're very, very profound. They're very, very powerful. But it's good to repeat them, because I have seen people on the path who call themselves to be very high souls, and you could be fooled, but then they're not vegetarian. What does that mean? That means they are not talking from the level of the kingdom of God. They are still talking from the level of the mind, because they have not developed compassion. They have not developed compassion and love for all the beings of the Lord. And if we don't develop compassion, how can we go beyond the mind? These are the uncompassion. The opposite of compassion is that's the quality of the mind, the quality of the suffering. So here's Saint Kabir's poetry, so powerful and so profound, and it teaches us. It teaches us. Um, I met a friend in my work, and we were talking about the vegetarian diet, and then she's young, she's 27, and she wanted to talk to me more about spirituality. So we have been communicating, and now she changed into vegan. And she was eating meat and she was eating fish, and I read to her the words of Jesus regarding the vegetarian diet, the words of Jesus that were taken out of the Bible. They were found in the archives of the Vatican, and you could see that it is a godly soul talking, because there was The authority when the master speaks, there's the authority of God in his works, in his words, and his words are come very powerful and absolute. And I could read them to you also, the words of Jesus about the vegetarian diet that were taken, and not the vegetarian diet only, but about reincarnation and meditation. They were taken out of the Bible because the worldly people changed the holy scriptures, and they were found in the archives of the Vatican. Can you believe that? The most important thing about the teachings of the saints and masters regarding the vegetarian diet, reincarnation, and meditation were taken out of the Bible, and now they are laying somewhere in the archives of the Vatican, and very few people have access to these holy words of the Master. Very, very sad to see how the negative power changes everything and gives you misinformation, and then you live in this misinformation, hunting, fishing, eating meat, and then what happens? Well, in Saint Kabir is going to tell you what happens to people who do that. So I will start with his words, and I will read his poetry. Very, very, very beautiful. So this is about intoxicants. Oops. And he's saying, in Kalyog, Kal has sent tobacco, opium, and wine as his agents to make man lose his head, forget devotion, and stay in Kal's confines. Opium and hemp, tobacco and wine, Kabir, discard them all if you crave a glimpse of the Lord. O wise one, consider the curse of wine. You part with money that with effort you earn in order to turn from man into beast. And this is really what drinking makes us, makes a human being. It turns the human being from a man to a beast. And you see how people, they are always angry when they drink, and they always fight. The drug addicted will never, never gain the opposite shore. Kabir firmly says, O men, understand from such habits refrain. When I went to India, so many, Prempal ji was talking yesterday about the yogis and the rishis, and I saw so many Lord Shiva's lovers, and they were all like so high, smoking hemp, smoking marijuana. They were so high. But Kabir says that by doing drugs, you can never, never see God inside of you. That this is a big, big hindrance, that you might feel good, but it's a big hindrance. You might reach the levels of the deities, the levels of the gods and the goddesses, the levels of the creator, sustainer, and destroyer, but you cannot go higher than that. That means you will stay in the mind region. Then Kabir says, Kabir, men who take fish, hemp, and drink, despite fasts and pilgrimage, and many a pious deed, they suffer endless agony in hell's bottom pit. Many are the intoxicants that afflict the world. Few are aware of them. Intoxication of wealth, of a keen mind, of physical beauty, of high caste and a noble name, assails one and all. Intoxication of learning, of merits and virtues, and that of power and position. Only when one gives up such intoxications can one enjoy the intoxication of the divine world. So, intoxication is not just from the outer drugs, he's saying it's from wealth, it is from the beauty of the body, it is from having an IQ, and it is from learning, being a doctor or an engineer or a very, very successful person outside, or the intoxication of power which the kings have and the leaders of the countries have. Such intoxicants can one enjoy. Yeah, one enjoy, but that's a poisonous intoxication. It's a intoxication from Kal, and it leads to a big, big suffering. Kabir Kabir is intoxicated with Nam. not with wine, nor with drugs. He who drinks from Nam's cup is truly intoxicated one. Wow. So the real intoxication comes from within. And that is when we start to have bliss and joy and smiles, and it keeps on growing. I am looking forward for the years to come when we are, Kabir says, Rumi says that this world is like a tavern, that we come here to enjoy exquisite desires, to enjoy exquisite desires and to ferment. And at some point, we want to leave this tavern, this crazy tavern, because of the longing to go home. The longing to go home, the urge to go home, we start to leave the tavern. We start to leave the tavern. So he's just equating that this world is like a crazy tavern where all are drunks on the outer drugs. But the urge at some point comes to go back home. Um, so let's see the next one. The next poem is Who Eat Meat? This is about meat eating. And the man who eats meat is a demon in human form. Keep away from him. His company will ruin your meditation. This is very, very profound. Just tells you the man who eats meat is a demon in human form. Keep away from him. His company will ruin your meditation. Who eat meat and fish, who relish drugs and wine, their very roots as human beings will be wiped out like radishes uprooted by the farmer. All flesh is the same, be it of cow, deer, or hen. Men who fondly eat their meat will find a birth in the fires of hell. Flesh is a dog's food, not his who is blessed with a human form. If a man allows meat to enter his mouth, he will one day enter the gates of hell. Wow. This is from Saint Kabir, you guys. So it's a very serious thing. They who kill will in turn be killed, whether they kill for eating or for sport. They will be dragged by the hair and taken to task by the ruthless minions of Kal. If one eats even a grain of fish and then gives 1,000,000 cows in charity or submits to the holy saw of Kasi, still the inevitable result will be a seat in the flames of hell. The poor goat, which eats only grass and leaves, suffers the fate of being flayed. What will be the fate of those who eat the goat? The sufferings of all beings is the same, Kabir says, but foolish man is blind to others' pain. Who not cut your own throat? Why not cut your own throat so that the bliss of liberation you attain? He's saying, die to the world so you can begin to live. The mullah says the hen ruthlessly, you cut my neck. But one day the Lord will demand an account of for your deeds. Then you will have no answer. Then you will suffer endless agony and pain. Blacken the face of your ritual laws. Banish duality from your heart. All souls belong to the one Lord. O fatuous mullah, forbear from killing any being of God. And then he continues to say, who eats grain is a man, who eats meat a dog, who renders a living being dead is a demon incarnate. Even some dogs are vegetarian now. Cut the throat of your wrath, your urge to cruelty destroy. He who ruthlessly kills the five will surely meet the Lord. He's saying he who kills the five enemies of the soul, anger, lust, ego, attachment, then he will meet the Lord. You violently slaughter innocent animals and claim it to be in keeping with the canons of your creed. But when God places before you the record of your cruel deeds, what will your fate be? Kabir says. Kabir, eat porridge to your fill. Kabir, eat porridge to your fill with the seasoning of salt. Who would eat meat and get his own throat cut? He's saying, don't do that because that will cut your throat. The Qazi and the priest both embraced delusion and took to the ways of the world, God and religion. They forgot the moment they took a knife in their hands. The evil ones, even sitting in worship, eat meat and drink wine. They will never gain salvation. In the fires of hell, they will sink 1,000,000 times. Oh. And then Hindus have no kindness, Turks no mercy in their hearts, says Kabir. Both will be dragged down by the currents of the 84. I tell you, O men, again and again, I warn, remember what I say. Whose throat today you cut will cut yours one day. I tell you, O men, again and again, I warn, remember what I say. Whose throat today you cut will cut yours one day. O man, such indeed is your utility, that your meat can be put to no use, nor from your bones can ornaments be made, nor can your skin be mounted on a drum. Cherish kindness and mercy with your heart. Man, why should you become merciless and harsh, when from the tiny ant to the mighty elephant, all beings belong to God? Wow. Um, So this is the words of Saint Kabir, and um, it is just profound to teach us that we have to learn compassion, we have to learn love, and we have to stick with the requirements of initiation. To obey the Master, if you love me, keep my commandments. All saints and masters say, if you love me, keep my commandments. And one of the commandments of the master is thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill human, or thou shalt not kill animals. So to love the animals, um, this is the first step to grow in the love of God and to grow spiritually. This is what I just wanted to do my introduction today. Thank you, Master, for all the love and for my seva, for giving me this opportunity to do seva so I can grow spiritually. Now I will looking forward to play our dear sister Tina, and she's gonna talk about the job G. So I'm very very excited to hear her to hear her seva. Forgive me, I forgot to say thank you to the Shabd of Vikas. That was a very, very, very beautiful Shabd. I want to be with you forever. I loved it. I don't know, sometimes I get distracted and I forget to say thank you for the people who do Shabd. So thank you, Vic, my dear brother Vic. We'll miss you. And I always look forward for your beautiful voice that has the yearning for God and for the kingdom of God. Thank you so, so, so much. Okay, now I'll play our sister Tina.
Hi, beautiful holy family. Thank you, dearest beloved Babaji, for another opportunity for seva. With your divine blessings and the blessings of the Sangha and my brother and sisters on this holy path, I will continue the seva. As always, my reference points are the Japji by Sant Kabir Singh Ji Maharaj. And we will start with the recitation of Mool Mantra, the beginning of Japji, followed by the recitation of stanzas 4 and 5, first in Gurmukhi Punjabi and then translation in English. Now, the Mool Mantra. Ik Onkar Sat Nam Karta Purakh Nirbhau Nirvair Akal Murth Ajuni Sahibang Gur Prasad Jap Ad Sach Jugat Sach Hai Bhi Sach Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach. Before I start the stanzas, I will be reading the introduction of Japji. The first lesson to be learned is to realize the existence of the divinity in man and to feel, nay, see, its presence everywhere. It is an ever active and moving principle diffused throughout creation that accounts for the existence of the universe itself. Nature, with her immutable laws, infinity of forms and phenomena, is not a mere edifice of chance. By one supreme ruler is this universe pervaded, held in control and kept in order. Man must reap the fruit of what he sows here or hereafter. All are subject to the domain of the karmas, and none is exempt therefrom. The only competent means for obtaining emancipation from bondage to the inexorable law of karmas is communion with the holy Naam, the divine word, learned at the feet of a Gurmukh, a master. When one has understood this, one is fit enough to take the next step. All men are equal and carry with them the spark of the divine light, ever effulgent and eternal. The rites of the synagogue or the mosque, the Hindu ways of worship or the Muslim prayers or the devotional services of the Christians are but different ways of offering love to the one Supreme Lord. All of us are playing in the lap of Dame Nature, day and night, serving in the capacity of either male or female, one the ever active and the other passive. All live on the same earth, under the same sky, breathe the same air, drink the same water. In a few words, all are nourished by the same elements of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Again, all enjoy the same privileges. All have the same eyes to see, the same ears to hear, the same limbs to move about, and the power of articulation to speak. None is deprived of nature's instruments, for nature extends the same facilities to all alike and grants equal protection to each. All human beings, here, there, and everywhere, are the children of one Father and form the link in the unbreakable chain of divinity, like beads on one string. If you try to tamper with any one of them, you are bound to affect the whole chain. Therefore, molest not anyone is the injunction of the saints. Baba Farid says in Guru Granth Sahib, if thou hankerest after a union with the Lord, torment not the heart of anyone. Shalok Farid. Guru Nanak would have each one of us breathe affinity to the whole creation and look upon the world with boundless compassion from the very core of our hearts, wishing peace unto all. He has set forth the above in beautiful words. O Nanak, may we rise up on the current of the holy Naam, the divine word, to thy presence, and wish peace unto all the world under thy will. Why? Then does this exist, all this verity in the outward symbols and external observance of the different religions? This, the Master explains, is due to the different formalities and customs prevailing in different countries. He says, Hindu temples and the mosques of the Muslims are all the same. The Hindu ways of worship and the namaz, Muslim mode of prayer, are all the same unto him. All mankind is but an emanation from the same source of life. The differences between the men of various creeds, Turks, Hindus, and others, are due to the customs and modes of living in their different countries. Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Let us take one instance. To go about the barehead is a sign of respect in the West, whereas in the East it is taken as disrespect. This evidently changes the outward mode of worship of the West from that of the East. The Christians conduct their services in churches bareheaded, but in the East, devotees perform their prayers with their heads always covered. The climate influences also plays a great part in determining the mode of rituals. In Arabia, the cradle of Mohammedanism, for example, the Arabs, because of the scarcity of water, perform namaz, which is offer prayers, after wuzu, washing of the face, hands, and feet. But where water is not to be found at all, they have to be content with tayammum, which is the use of sand for cleaning their limbs before saying prayers. With the Hindus in India, the use of water is profuse and a bath is considered necessary before observing religious practices. Such is also the case with dress and other similar matters. These regional practices were assimilated into the religions which sprung up there. And it is this which accounts for the differences in the rituals and customs that we find among various religions today. Again, there are differences in temperament of the people in different parts of the world. When each one has his own inclination and his own modes of thinking, it would be simply cruel if one were to force the same views on all. As a result of this tendency, we have different systems or schools of thought as they exist today, and these keep on increasing and multiplying with the progress of time. All are, of course, meant to progress in the development of men's intellects. All men must therefore choose what is best for themselves until at last they come to the subjective aspect of religion, which is one and the same for all humanity. Now the stanzas in Punjabi. Sacha Sahib Sach Nai Pakhya Pao Apar, Aakhe Mange De Dat Kare Datar, Fir ki Aage Rakhiye Jit Tisse Darbar, Mokyo Bolan Boliye Jit Sune Tare Pyar, Amrit Vela Sach Nao Vadiyai Vichar, Karmi Ave Kapda Nadri Mokh Duar, Nanak Eve Janiye Sab Apne Aap Sachiar. God, as well as his name, is true, and those who repeat his name with sincere affection are true. People beg in prayers that he may bestow gifts on them, and God fulfills this. What should he be offered to God so that his court may be seen? What language would be uttered by the mouth so that he may bestow his love on us after hearing it? Sadhguru says that one must utter the true name in the early ambrosial morning and must ponder over his greatness. Mortal obtains human body as a result of good deeds, but he reaches the gate of salvation with God's kind grace. Sadhguru Nanak says that one must realize that true God is all by himself. God's will is indescribable, and the question arises, how may we become one with it? Guru Nanak replies that the best we can do is to sit in meditation at the early hour of dawn and commune with his holy word. Our actions and our efforts count, no doubt. It is through them that we achieve human birth. But, says Nanak, we cannot earn salvation, for it must come as a gift of his grace. Guru Nanak in the Japji turns time and again to his paradox that salvation is only possible through his grace, yet we need effort to achieve this salvation. True is the Lord, true his holy word. His love has been described as infinite. Men pray to him for gifts, which he grants untiringly. When all is his, what can we offer at his feet? What can we say to win his love? At the ambrosial hour of the early dawn, be you in the communion with the divine word and meditate on his glory. Our birth is the fruit of our actions, but salvation comes only from his grace. O Nanak, know the true one is immanent in all. Stanza 5. Thapya na jai kita na hoy, ape aap niranjan soy. Jin sevya tin paya man, nanak gavye guni nidan. Gavye suniye man rakhiye pao, dukh parihar sukh kar le jao. Gurmukh nath, Gurmukh ved, Gurmukh rahiye samay. Gur Isar, Gur Gorakh, Brahma, Gur Parbati Mai. जे हो जाना आखा नाही कहना कथन न जाए गुरा एक दही बुझाई सबना जिया का एक दाता सो में विसर न जाए. Pure God, unaffected by mammon, is all by himself. God has not been and cannot be created or established by anyone. Those who serve God obtain honor. Sadhguru Nanak advises, sing God's praises, who is the treasure of excellences. Sing the praises of God and keep love for him in the heart. Then you will obtain joy in your mind and throw away your pain. Guru's words are divine, which infuse the knowledge of God, and by following the Guru's words, God pervading everywhere, is realized. Guru is Shiva, Vishnu, Shiva's consort Parvati, Vishnu's consort Lakshmi, and Brahma's consort Saraswati. If I were to know God, I cannot narrate him, because he cannot be described in words. Sadhguru has made clear one thing to me. There is only one giver for all the beings, whom I must not forget. He can neither be established nor created. The formless one is limitless, complete in himself. Those who worship him are honored. Nanak, ever sing of the treasure house of all the virtues. Let us sing of him and hold communion with the word, with hearts full of loving devotion. For then shall all the sorrows end, and we be led joyously homeward. The Master is the song eternal, or word personified. He is the Vedas, the scriptures. He is saturated with the divine. He is Siva. He is Vishnu, and he is Brahma. And their consorts Parvati, Lakshmi, and Saraswati also. The greatness of the Master, even if known, cannot be described with mortal eloquence. My Master has taught me one thing. He is the Lord of everything. Him I may never forget. The Master possesses the knowledge of all of the divine on which all the scriptures are based. The Master displays all the attributes of the gods forming the Hindu trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, symbolic of the principles of creation, preservation, and the destruction. Like Brahma, the expounder of Vedas, he imparts divine knowledge and thereby gives a new birth to his disciples, the birth in spirit. Like Vishnu, he protects and preserves them from all the harm. And like Shiva, he destroys all evil propensities in them. Similarly, the goddess Parvati, Lakshmi, and Saraswati are symbolic of devotion, wealth, and learning. He is a prototype of all these virtues. The word used in the original Gurmukhi, which at once means the mouthpiece of God and the Master who leads his disciples on the path of God. Communion with the holy Nam, the divine word, together with meditation on his glory, is the open sesame to the realization of being one being. Word is the substance and the power by which all life is made. Holy communion with its rapturous strains is a gift that can be attained only through a living Master. In his company, a life of holy inspiration and love of God is followed, and the inner eye is opened to see the presence of God in all things. Nanak has hinted of this in the prologue itself, and now proceeds to describe the greatness and importance of such a soul. A true Master is not a mere human being, but has become one with God, and as such contains in himself the powers of all the gods and goddesses. He is vertebly the Word made flesh and blood. The one lesson that such a Master teaches his disciples is to meditate always upon the Lord, the Creator or everything, and never to forget him. Thank you, dearest Holy Family, for giving this seva. Thank you, Babaji. We've completed stanzas 4 and 5. And I know, as usual, I've made lots of mistakes. Please, I humbly ask for your forgiveness. And again, with his blessings, we will continue with stanzas 6 and 7 next week. Thank you very much for all your blessings and grace.
Wow, dear sister Tina, that's amazing. I'm looking forward for stanza 6 and 7. And I love how the darshan of Ishwar Puri Ji, our father, I looked at his, the whole time. I tried to look at his picture and just listen to you. It was amazing. Thank you so much for your seva. Anyone else wants to add any love to this satsang before I play our Holy Father? Anyone wants to say anything? They are welcome. If anybody wants to add anything, share any love, tell us a story, or no one? Okay, but you're all welcome to say whatever you want, whenever you want. So now I guess we can meditate for a couple of minutes, and I will play our Holy Father.
Children don't learn because the parents are not following what they are teaching.
As pessoas tentam fazer com que os outros pratiquem, mas as crianças, principalmente, elas não entendem porque elas seguem o modelo dos pais.
Teach your children by your own example.
Ensine as suas crianças pelo seu próprio exemplo.
Children learn much better from the example of their parents than from the teaching they tell them.
As crianças aprendem pelo exemplo dos pais muito mais do que o que os pais dizem a elas.
If a person is smoking and tells his child not to smoke, it will have no effect.
Se uma pessoa fuma e diz à sua criança para não fumar, isso não terá nenhum efeito.
Parents live a certain kind of life and they expect children to be a different life.
Às vezes os pais vivem um tipo de vida e querem que as crianças vivam um outro.
It does not work like that.
Não funciona dessa forma.
That is why show a shining example and the children will learn automatically.
Se você viver um modelo exemplar, as suas crianças também se beneficiam disso.
If you are a good example of a loving person, the whole world will love you.
Se você é um exemplo de uma pessoa amorosa, todo mundo amará você.
I did an experiment one time.
Eu fiz um experimento uma vez.
In a small group, I advise people try to be loving for 1 week.
Num grupo pequeno de pessoas, eu aconselhei que essas pessoas fossem amorosas por uma semana.
I said try to smile, talk lovingly to every person you meet for 1 week.
Tente sorrir e ser amoroso com todas as pessoas que você encontrar durante essa semana.
After 1 week, we gathered again.
Depois de uma semana, nos encontraremos novamente.
And everybody said they had a very strange experience.
E todo mundo disse que eles tiveram uma experiência estranha.
Everybody they met loved them.
Todo mundo quem eles encontraram os amaram.
People had not changed.
As pessoas não mudaram.
When we change, it appears everybody else changes.
Quando nós mudamos, aparece que todas as pessoas mudaram.
And that is why if you have a good loving attitude, you will find everybody else loving you also.
Portanto, se você tem uma atitude amorosa, você vai perceber que todas as pessoas são amorosas com você.
The experience of love at all times helps in our spiritual journey.
A experiência do amor nos ajuda o tempo todo no caminho espiritual.
So be kind and loving to everybody.
Portanto, seja gentil e amoroso com todos.
If somebody has a disagreement on some point, do not try to persuade them.
Se temos um desacordo com alguém, não os tente convencer.
People's minds can have genuine disagreement.
As mentes constantemente desacordam.
Trying to have a debate and discussion with them is a waste of time.
Tentar discutir e debater é uma perda de tempo.
We spend so much time and waste our life in these little things.
Nós perdemos tanto tempo em nossas vidas com essas coisas pequenas.
And do not gossip about other people.
E não faça fofoca sobre as outras pessoas.
Somehow we have made it a habit to enjoy scandalous stories.
Nós fizemos um hábito de gostar de histórias escandalosas.
In our company we share so and so did this.
Em nossa fala, nós falamos, fulano fez isso, fulano fez aquilo.
That does not solve anything.
Isso não resolve nada, não resolve nada.
It only wastes our attention.
Apenas desperdiça nossa atenção.
Attention is a very valuable thing.
A atenção é uma coisa muito preciosa.
Try to keep your attention within on God.
Guarde a sua atenção em Deus.
Think of the Creator and what He has done.
Pense no Criador e o que Ele fez.
If possible, speak less
Se possível, fale menos
and hear more.
e ouça mais.
Some wise man said, we have been given 1 tongue but 2 ears.
Uma pessoa muito sábia disse que nós temos uma língua e 2 ouvidos.
So we should hear twice of what we speak.
Nós deveríamos ouvir 2 vezes mais o que falamos.
I was sitting in a bus one day
Estava sentado no ônibus uma vez
and there were 2 ladies sitting in the seat just in front of me. Two
Yeah.
ladies were sitting in front of me, and I was at the back in that bus.
E havia duas mulheres sentadas na minha frente.
Throughout my 2 hours journey, they were speaking to each other constantly.
Durante a jornada no ônibus, essas duas mulheres estavam falando uma com a outra o tempo todo.
I noticed that each one of them was saying their own story without even listening to the other person.
Eu notei que cada uma estava falando sua própria história sem ouvir uma a outra.
Sometimes both of them would be speaking at the same time.
Às vezes, as duas se falavam ao mesmo tempo.
I wondered what is the idea of speaking at the same time and not listening to the other person.
E eu fiquei pensando, qual é o propósito de falar ao mesmo tempo com o outro sem ouvir o que o outro está dizendo?
I find many of us do that all the time.
Eu vejo que todos nós fazemos isso o tempo todo.
We should conserve our energy.
Deveríamos conservar a nossa energia.
It is not necessary to talk ill of anybody.
Não é necessário falar mal de nenhuma pessoa.
Before we point out any finger towards anybody, you should point the finger at yourself.
Antes de apontarmos o dedo para as outras pessoas, deveríamos apontá-lo para nós mesmos.
None of us are free from guilt of mistakes we have made.
Nenhum de nós somos isentos de erros ou de...
We should ask for forgiveness for our mistakes.
Deveríamos pedir perdão por todos os nossos erros.
When we pray to God, we should ask for forgiveness.
Quando oramos a Deus, devemos pedir por perdão.
We all make mistakes,
Todos nós cometemos erros.
and we know they are mistakes.
E nós sabemos que eles são erros.
Guided by the mind, we still commit mistakes.
Guiados pela mente, nós estamos sempre cometendo erros.
There are so many times we say, I will never do that again, and still do it.
E muitas vezes dizemos, nunca mais faremos isso, mas ainda assim os fazemos.
Now I will ask you, have you ever in your life said, I will never do that again?
E agora eu pergunto, algum de vocês já disse, nunca mais eu farei isso na minha vida?
And you still did it.
Mas mesmo assim você o fez.
How many?
Quantos?
This calls for a story.
Isso também é uma
Tell you
história.
the story now.
Eu vou contar uma história agora.
There were two elk hunters who went to a mountain for elk hunting.
Havia dois caçadores de veados.
Elk is an animal that lives in the mountains.
Elk é um tipo de veado que vive nas montanhas.
So they hired a small plane and they flew up to the mountain.
Então, eles alugaram um pequeno avião e voaram para as montanhas.
After hunting for the elks, they killed 4 elks.
Depois de ter caçado por esses veados, eles mataram 4 deles.
And they dragged them to the plane.
E eles os arrastaram até o avião.
The pilot of the small plane said, this is a small plane, we cannot take more than 2 elks.
E o piloto do avião disse, esse avião é pequeno, nós não podemos levar mais do que 2 desses elks.
4 elks are too heavy for this plane.
4 elks é muito pesado para este avião.
But those 2 people said, last year we got a similar plane and we carried 4 elks.
Mas os caçadores disseram, o ano passado nós tivemos esse mesmo tipo de avião e conseguimos carregar 4 elks.
So they forced the pilot to load all the 4 elks into the plane.
Então, eles forçaram o piloto a pôr todos os 4 elks no avião.
Naturally, the plane crashed.
Naturalmente, o avião caiu.
The pilot died.
O piloto morreu.
The plane was in debris.
O avião estava estraçalhado.
But these 2 people escaped.
Mas esses 2 caçadores escaparam.
And as they came out of the debris, one asked the other person,
E quando eles saíram dos escombros do avião, um perguntou para o outro.
and the other person said, same place we were in last year.
Nós estamos no mesmo lugar que estávamos no ano passado.
We live our life the same way.
Vivemos a nossa vida do mesmo jeito.
We promise to ourselves we won't do this again.
Prometemos a nós mesmos que não faremos coisas novamente.
And do the same thing over and over again.
Mas as fazemos vezes e vezes novamente.
This is because of the nature of the mind.
Isso é por causa da natureza de nossa mente.
The mind gets into temptation very easily,
A mente, ela fica tentada o tempo todo.
and we forget that we are not supposed to repeat the same mistakes.
E nós esquecemos que não devemos repetir os mesmos erros.
That is why we have to develop a spiritual will
É por isso que devemos desenvolver um caminho espiritual
to override the mental will.
para apagar o jeito mental.
The spiritual will is done by your gut feeling, your love, and your intuition.
O jeito espiritual, ele acontece através do seu instinto, da nossa intuição.
Rely more on what you get intuitively and not so much by thinking.
Siga mais o que você vê, o que vem da sua intuição do que o que vem do seu pensamento.
If you don't know if your intuition is correct, if the mind creates a doubt, wait for an experience during the next day.
Se você tem uma intuição e a mente cria uma dúvida, espere até a próxima experiência.
When spiritual knowledge comes within, it is also accompanied by a sign from outside.
Quando uma experiência espiritual acontece, ela vem de um sinal do lado externo.
Supposing you suddenly get a feeling of knowing something, but you are not sure,
Suponhamos você tenha o sentimento de que você sabe de alguma coisa, mas você não tem certeza.
and after 1 hour you open a book,
E depois de uma hora você abre um livro,
any book,
qualquer livro,
and you will find some sentences that confirm what you knew intuitively.
e você vê algumas frases que elas confirmam aquilo que você tinha sentido.
Or you're driving in your car and you will see a sign on the road which
Or
has some words that confirm your intuitive knowledge.
Ou você está dirigindo, você vê uma placa com coisas que confirmam o seu conhecimento instintivo.
Intuition is the language of the soul.
Intuição é a linguagem da alma.
Intuition is accompanied by coincidences.
Intuição opera através das coincidências.
Intuitively we know something inside and a sign appears outside by coincidence confirming it.
Intuitivamente, sabemos das coisas internamente e esses sinais externos confirmam a nossa intuição.
If you start living through intuition, your mind will get under control.
Se você começar a viver pela sua intuição, a sua mente ficará controlada.
You must practice saying no to your mind.
Precisamos praticar dizer não à nossa mente.
At least 3 or 4 times every week, what the mind wants, say no.
Pelo menos 3 ou 4 vezes por semana, diga não ao que a mente quer.
If the mind says just 1 time more, say no.
Se a mente dizer pelo menos uma vez mais, você diga não.
You have to say no to the mind to control it.
Você tem que dizer não à mente para poder controlá-la.
When we keep on saying yes to the mind, we become slaves of the mind.
Quando continuamos a dizer sim na nossa mente, viramos escravos dela.
What we think is sin is a commitment by the advice of the mind.
O que pensamos ser pecado é apenas uma aceitação do que a mente nos faz fazer.
If our mind is under control, there will be no sin,
Se a mente estiver sob controle, não há pecados.
because we listen to the mind, therefore we make mistakes and commit sin.
Porque nós não escutamos a mente, então não haverá mais pecados.
If we can control the mind, it will be a very big step towards God realization.
Se você conseguir controlar a mente, é um grande passo a caminho da realização de Deus.
Nobody can say from outside what you have to do. You have to do it from within yourself to tell the mind no.
Ninguém pode fazer isso do lado de fora. Você tem que ir adentro para poder dizer para sua mente não.
These simple things I'm telling you, I have learned from my own experience.
Isso são coisas simples que eu tenho aprendido com a minha própria experiência.
My master, my perfect living saint, told me, you must practice within your own self, not rely on other people's experience.
O meu mestre, o meu perfeito mestre vivo, santo, Ele me disse, você precisa de se apegar às suas próprias experiências e não às experiências dos outros.
He also told me not to say anything which you don't know personally.
Ele também me disse, não diga nada que você não saiba você mesmo pessoalmente.
What I am sharing with you is not from any books.
O que eu estou compartilhando com vocês não vem de nenhum livro.
It's from the book of my own life.
É do livro da minha própria experiência.
It has been practiced and that is why I share with you.
Advém da minha prática e, portanto, eu estou compartilhando isso com vocês.
I cannot say that something I have not practiced, I can tell you to practice.
Eu não posso dizer para vocês praticar uma coisa que eu mesmo não pratiquei.
That will make me a hypocrite.
Isso me faria de mim um hipócrita.
And hypocrisy is an obstacle on the spiritual path.
E hipocrisia é um obstáculo no caminho espiritual.
Therefore, it is not necessary to teach somebody something that you have not known yourself.
Portanto, não é necessário ensinar a alguém algo que você mesmo não experienciou.
Many of you in your life will get opportunity to share the truth with other people.
Alguns de vocês talvez tenham a oportunidade de compartilhar a verdade sobre o caminho espiritual com outras pessoas.
When that comes into you to teach some other people, remember to share only what you have experienced.
Quando isso acontecer, se lembre, compartilhe apenas aquilo que você experienciou.
It is all right to be a hypocrite for the world, but not all right to be a hypocrite to God.
É ok ser um hipócrita no mundo externo, mas não é ok ser um hipócrita com Deus.
God is watching us at all times.
Deus nos olha o tempo todo.
When we tell a lie, God watches us.
Quando falamos uma mentira, Deus nos vê.
When we tell somebody to do something we have not practiced ourselves, God understands that we are hypocrites.
Quando falamos para os outros fazer uma coisa que nós mesmos não fizemos, Deus vê a nossa hipocrisia.
Once upon a time, there was a story of a mother whose child would eat too many sweets.
Tem uma história de uma vez uma mãe cuja criança comia muito doce.
The child would get little eruptions on the skin because of too much sugar the child was taking.
A criança tinha um problema na pele porque ela comia muito açúcar.
The mother tried to hide the sugar from the child.
E a mãe tentava esconder as coisas doces dessa criança.
But the greed was so much the child would find where this sugar and sweets were hidden and would take them out.
Mas ela queria tanto esses doces que ela procurava e encontrava onde esses doces estavam escondidos.
The child listened to nobody that these sweets are harmful for the child.
A criança não ouvia de forma alguma que os doces a fazia mal.
Then she found out there's a holy man who is very popular with children.
Ela descobriu que havia um homem santo que era muito popular com as crianças.
That children love that holy man a lot.
E que as crianças amavam esse homem sagrado muito.
Whatever that holy man said, the children followed.
O que esse homem santo dizia, as crianças seguiam.
So she took her own child to that holy man.
Então ela levou a sua criança até esse homem santo.
And she said, "Sir, my child is addicted to sugar."
E ela disse para ele, Senhor, a minha criança, ela é viciada em açúcar.
He steals the sugar and sweets.
Ele pega os açúcares e os doces.
Can you tell him to stop eating this?
Você pode dizer para minha criança parar de comer doces?
The holy man looked at the child and said, "Come to me after 1 week."
E o santo disse para a criança, volte a mim daqui a uma semana.
After 1 week, the mother again took the child to the holy man.
Depois de uma semana, a mãe retornou ao homem santo com a criança.
And the holy man said, "Child, don't take sweets."
E o homem santo disse para a criança, não coma mais doces.
And the child stopped taking sweets.
E a criança parou de comer doces.
The mother was very curious why the holy man said come after 1 week.
A mãe estava muito curiosa porque que o homem santo disse para ela voltar depois de uma semana.
So she went back to the holy man.
Ela foi de volta ao homem sagrado
and asked him, if all you had to do was to tell the child not to take sweets, why could you not do it the same day when I came?
Se tudo que ele tinha para dizer para a criança era para ela parar de comer açúcar, por que ele não disse ali da primeira vez? Ele disse para ela voltar uma semana depois.
The holy man said, when you came to me first, I was myself taking sweets.
Porque quando você veio a mim a primeira vez, eu mesmo estava comendo doces.
I had to myself stop taking sweets before I could tell the child not to take sweets.
Eu primeiro tive que parar de comer doces para poder dizer para a criança para que ela não comesse doce.
The holy man said, if I take sweets and tell a child not to take sweets, child will still take sweets.
Se eu como doce e digo para a criança não comer, ela continuará comendo doce.
A child will not listen to me if I'm not practicing what I'm teaching him.
Uma criança não me ouvirá se eu não pratico aquilo que eu digo a ela.
This is a lesson for all of us.
Isso é uma lição para todos nós.
It is not effective to say something to people if you're not practicing yourself.
Não é eficaz dizer para as pessoas as coisas que não praticamos nós mesmos.
They will not listen to you.
Eles não nos ouvirão.
They will say yes, yes, but when they go away, they will have the same opinion.
Eles dirão sim, 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 mas quando eles se forem, eles terão as suas próprias opiniões.
That is why, to be effective, you must practice what you tell.
Portanto, para ser eficaz, nós devemos praticar aquilo que dizemos.
I am saying this to you because many of you in the future will be able to help other people on a spiritual path.
Eu estou dizendo isso a vocês porque eu sei que muitos de vocês no futuro ajudarão outras pessoas no caminho espiritual.
In the spiritual experiences we see many things inside.
Nas experiências espirituais que temos, nós vemos muitas coisas dentro.
We see lights and sounds.
Nós vemos luzes e sons.
We hear sounds and we see new worlds inside.
Nós ouvimos o som e vemos novos mundos dentro de nós.
We have wonderful experiences.
Nós temos experiências maravilhosas.
Those experiences are to build up our spiritual journey.
Essas experiências, elas são para construir a nossa jornada espiritual.
They are not for sharing with other people.
Elas não são para que compartilhemos com outras pessoas.
When the few experiences we share with people, we lose them.
Quando compartilhamos as poucas experiências que temos com outras pessoas, nós as perdemos.
Because when we try to tell people to impress them that we have experiences, our ego comes in.
Porque quando nós estamos dizendo para as pessoas que temos essas experiências, é o nosso ego que está falando.
Our ego separates us from people and from God.
Nosso ego nos separa das outras pessoas e também de Deus.
In the love of God, there should be no ego.
No amor de Deus não deve haver ego.
We should surrender our ego to God.
Nós devemos nos resignar ao amor de Deus.
So the ego that comes up by sharing our inner experiences destroys the future of inner experiences.
O jeito egóico de compartilhar essa experiência destrói as nossas experiências espirituais.
So you should digest those experiences.
Devemos digerir essas experiências
And more
espirituais.
experiences will come.
E mais experiências virão.
When your cup is full, then the overflow you can share.
Quando a sua taça está cheia e ela está derramando, aí é quando você pode compartilhar.
We can think of God's grace as rain falling.
Nós podemos pensar na graça de Deus como uma chuva caindo.
If we keep our cup in the rain upside down, it will not fill up.
Se colocamos a nossa taça na chuva de cabeça para baixo, ela não se encherá.
If we turn the cup a little bit, a few drops may come in.
Se nós movermos a taça para cima um pouquinho, uns pequenos pingos cairão na taça.
If we keep the cup upright, it will get filled up in no more time, in not much time.
Mas se nós colocamos a taça para cima, ela se encherá em pouco tempo.
God's grace comes like rain.
A graça de Deus, ela vem como a chuva.
Our attention is a cup.
Nossa atenção é uma taça.
If our attention is fully in God, it will get filled up with the love of God.
Se nossa atenção está completa em Deus, nós nos preencheremos com Deus.
But if our cup is turned toward the world, it won't get filled up.
Mas se a nossa taça ela está voltada para as coisas do mundo, ela não se preencherá.
If we give only little attention to God and most of the attention to the world, cup will get only a few drops.
Se colocamos somente um pouco de atenção em Deus e o resto de atenção no mundo, apenas um pouquinho da nossa taça se
If you get
encherá.
a few drops, if you get a few drops of grace of the Almighty God and you share it with others, the cup will become empty.
Se você tem apenas um pouquinho da graça de Deus e você compartilha isso com outras pessoas, a sua taça ela ficará vazia.
But if your cup is always turned towards God, it will get filled up and overflow.
Mas se a sua taça está sempre voltada para Deus, ela se derramará e permanecerá cheia.
Then you can share the overflow with other people.
Aí você pode compartilhar aquilo que está excedendo, derramando com as outras pessoas.
That only happens when we keep our inner attention on God all the time.
Isso apenas acontece quando a nossa atenção interna está completa em Deus.
There are so many things we can do in the world without too much attention.
Há tantas coisas que nós podemos fazer nesse mundo que não necessita muita atenção.
Things are happening by themselves.
As coisas acontecem por si só.
The heartbeat which sustains our life is automatic.
O batido do coração que sustém as nossas vidas acontece automaticamente.
We don't tell the heart to beat.
Nós não dizemos ao coração para bater.
The heart beats by itself to sustain life.
O coração bate por si mesmo para sustentar a vida.
We breathe automatically without giving direction.
Nós respiramos automaticamente sem ter que ordenar para respirar.
We go about our business putting very little attention to them
Vivemos,
and thinking of other things at the same time.
nós vivemos a nossa vida sem ter que fazer muito esforço e pensar sobre outras coisas.
You don't need more than 10% of your attention to carry out your responsibilities and obligations in this world.
Não precisamos mais do que 10% da nossa atenção para fazer as coisas no mundo físico.
90% of your attention you should keep on God.
90% da nossa atenção deveríamos dispensar ela a Deus.
You should express your gratitude to God while walking, talking, cooking, doing your work.
Deveríamos expressar nossa gratidão por Deus enquanto estamos andando, falando, cozinhando, trabalhando.
The internal connection with God should never be broken.
A conexão interna com Deus nunca deveria ser quebrada.
Nobody has seen God, they only experienced God.
Ninguém nunca viu a Deus, eles apenas tiveram experiência de Deus.
God can be experienced by feeling His presence in what is happening in our life.
Deus pode ser experienciado através das coisas que acontecem em nossa vida.
That experience is good enough to say thank you to God.
Essas experiências são suficientes para que digamos muito obrigado, Senhor.
So express your gratitude to God at all times.
Expresse a sua gratidão a Deus o tempo todo.
These are simple things to remember for God realization.
Isso são coisas simples para que podemos atingir a realização de Deus.
Mere prayer and meditation is not enough.
Apenas meditação e oração não é o suficiente.
Our whole life should be made into a prayer.
Toda a nossa vida deveria ser uma oração.
If you remember God every time, whatever you are doing, you are making that work also into a prayer.
Se você se lembra de Deus em tudo aquilo que você faz, você torna o seu trabalho em uma oração.
Prayer and meditation is a way of life.
Meditar e orar é um jeito de vida.
So adopt it and it will hasten your trip to God realization.
Pratique isso e isso ajudará na sua jornada espiritual.
If we don't follow those things, we are looking and enjoying this world, then it is difficult to get God realization.
Se não fazemos isso e apenas aproveitando os prazeres do lado externo, não é possível fazer essa jornada até Deus.
When you are doing your job, think God is doing it.
Quando você está fazendo o seu trabalho, pense que Deus está fazendo esse trabalho.
If you have a perfect living master or a human being as a friend who is in touch with God at all times, then thinking of him is the same thing as thinking of God.
Quando você tem um amigo ou um mestre perfeito vivo, pense nele como sendo a pessoa que está o tempo todo fazendo as coisas.
It is easier to remember God by looking at a person who is God realized.
É muito mais fácil pensar em Deus quando você observa e tem a companhia de uma pessoa que tem a realização de Deus.
If we cannot see God, we can at least see a person who is God realized.
Se não podemos ver Deus, podemos então ver uma pessoa que tem a realização de Deus.
That is why there is a great value in looking at a God realized person.
Por isso, há um grande valor em ver uma pessoa que tem a realização de Deus.
It automatically turns our inner attention towards God.
Isso automaticamente faz com que a nossa atenção fique voltada para Deus.
Take full advantage of the company of such people.
É uma vantagem enorme estar na companhia dessas pessoas.
Every time you spend time with God realized people, you are moving one step towards God realization yourself.
Toda vez que você passa tempo na companhia de uma pessoa que tem a realização de Deus, você está dando um passo adiante para a sua própria realização de Deus.
I have been sharing these things with you, and I hope they will be helpful in your own journey, spiritual journey.
Eu estou compartilhando essas coisas com você na esperança de que isso os auxilie em sua própria jornada espiritual.
If you think they are not helpful, then don't follow them.
Se vocês não acham que isso é de auxílio, então não siga o que eu estou dizendo.
If you think you have a better way to God realization, take that.
Se você acha que você tem uma forma melhor de ter a realização de Deus, então siga o que é melhor para você.
If you find a better way of God realization, then do me one favor.
Se você achar que há uma forma melhor para a realização de Deus, me faça um favor.
Let me also know that way,
Conte também esse jeito para mim,
and I will also follow it.
e eu também o seguirei.
I am open to follow any way that leads to God realization.
Eu estou disposto a seguir qualquer caminho que leve à realização de Deus.
If you are seekers of God, you should be open to any pathway that takes you to God.
Se vocês são buscadores de Deus, vocês deveriam estar dispostos a seguir qualquer caminho que leva à realização de Deus.
Don't get close-minded.
Não fique com a mente fechada.
Sometimes the fact we are born in a particular religion, particular culture, binds us to that in a blind faith.
Às vezes, o fato de nascermos em determinadas religiões e em determinadas culturas nos amarram a essa fé cega.
We should be open to the spiritual path from wherever it comes.
Deveríamos estar abertos ao caminho espiritual da forma que ele nos vem.
If we confine ourselves blindly to something, we miss the opportunity for God realization.
Se confinamos nós mesmos às coisas cegas, nós perdemos a oportunidade, talvez, de obter a realização de Deus.
Be open to examine the truth in whatever form it comes.
Deveríamos estar abertos para examinar a verdade na forma que ela nos vier.
But do not follow anything blindly.
Mas não siga nada cegamente.
Examine everything that comes.
Examine tudo que vem.
You have been given a good mind to study things and to understand what they are and use it.
Você tem uma mente boa para examinar e avaliar as coisas, então a use.
Don't be too credulous.
Não fique tão crédito.
Don't be a person who follows anybody who says anything and we take it for truth.
Não siga ninguém que diz uma coisa e apanhe aquilo como verdade.
Test out by your own experience if what somebody is suggesting actually works or not.
Teste o que as pessoas estão dizendo e verifique se aquilo funciona ou não.
Only build your faith on your experience.
Construa a sua fé através de sua própria experiência.
Make it a living faith instead of a blind faith.
Faça uma fé viva e não a fé cega.
Living faith grows like all living things.
A fé viva, ela cresce como todas as coisas vivas.
Every day's experience increases that faith.
Cada experiência, ela expande essa fé.
And that is why we say living faith.
É por isso que nós dizemos fé viva.
Blind faith does not grow at all.
Fé cega não cresce de forma alguma.
Somebody tells us something, we believe it, and then we believe the same thing all the time.
Alguma pessoa nos diz uma coisa e nós acreditamos naquilo e prosseguimos a acreditar naquilo tempo e tempos novamente.
There's no growth in blind faith.
Não há nenhum crescimento em fé cega.
Living faith grows every day with more experience.
Fé viva cresce todo dia com mais experiências.
I'll tell you a little story.
Vou lhes contar uma história.
Whenever my talk gets heavy, I have to tell a story.
Toda vez que os meus ensinamentos se tornam pesados, eu tenho que contar uma história.
There were two children living near a beach.
Haviam duas crianças morando perto de uma praia.
There were many stalls selling ice cream and other things on that beach.
Havia muitas barraquinhas vendendo coisas nessa praia.
It was like a beach resort.
Era como se fosse um resort de praia.
So one day one of the child told his friend, let's go and have some ice cream.
E um dia, duas crianças que eram amigos, uma falou para a outra, vamos comprar um sorvete.
So the friend who invited his other friend for ice cream had 5 reals in his pocket.
Então, esse amigo que convidou os outros para ir tomar um sorvete tinha 5 reais no seu bolso.
They both went to the beach to have ice cream.
Os dois foram à praia para tomar um sorvete.
They knew 2 ice cream will cost 5 reals.
Eles sabiam que 2 sorvetes iam custar 5 reais.
But before they reached the ice cream stall, they saw a holy man making sand castles.
Mas antes de chegar até a barraquinha que vendia sorvete, eles viram um homem santo vendendo castelos de areia.
Like little children make small sand houses, that holy man was making very beautiful sand houses.
Como toda criança faz castelo de areia, esse homem santo, ele estava fazendo castelos de areia maravilhosos.
The child who had 5 reals with him, he said, these are so beautiful, I would like to buy one.
A criança que tinha o dinheiro para comprar o sorvete disse para o homem santo, nossa, esse castelo é maravilhoso, eu gostaria de comprar um.
The holy man said, do you have the price to pay for this?
O homem sagrado disse, você tem o dinheiro para pagar por isso?
He said, how much is the price?
Ele disse para o homem, quanto custa?
Holy man said, 5 reals.
O homem santo disse, 5 reais.
So the child took out his 5 reals and gave to the holy man and brought a plywood and took up that sand house.
Então a criança deu 5 reais para o homem santo, pegou uma placa de madeira e colocou o castelo dele na placa.
His friend was very unhappy.
Seu amigo ficou muito dissatisfeito.
He said, we came for ice cream and you have wasted your money on sand.
Nós viemos tomar um sorvete e você está desperdiçando seu dinheiro num castelo de areia.
But his friend who spent the 5 reals said, it is so beautiful, I love to take it home, therefore I have bought it.
Mas a criança que comprou o castelo de areia disse, ele é tão lindo e eu quero levá-lo para casa.
His friend got even more irritated.
Seu amigo ficou ainda mais irritado.
But this friend who was irritated and disappointed had a dream at night.
Mas a criança que ficou irritada e desapontada teve um sonho durante a noite.
In the dream, he felt he was flying in the sky.
No sonho, ele viu que ele estava voando no céu.
And he saw many lights in the sky.
E ele viu muitas luzes no céu.
When he flew near those lights, he found there were houses in the sky.
Quando ele voou nos céus e viu essas luzes, ele viu que também havia casas no céu.
All the houses were made up of light.
Todas essas casas eram feitas de luzes.
And he said, this must be heaven.
E ele pensou que aquilo deveria ser o paraíso.
As he was flying, looking at those different houses, he saw one just like the one that the holy man had made with sand.
E quando ele sobrevoou e viu essas casas, ele viu uma exatamente igual a que o homem santo tinha vendido para o seu amigo.
He saw many other houses. They were also like the houses the man was making in the sand.
Ele também viu outras casas que eram idênticas a que o homem santo estava vendendo na
He
praia.
said, "Oh my God, the man was making these houses from heaven."
E ele pensou, oh meu Deus, o homem santo estava fazendo essas casas que vêm do céu.
Then he flew near the house, which looked like the house of sand that his friend had bought.
E aí ele sobrevoou e viu uma casa que era igual a que o amigo dele havia comprado.
And he saw his name, the friend's name written outside the house.
E ele viu o nome do amigo dele escrito do lado de fora da casa.
He said, "How lucky my friend, he bought a house in heaven for 5 riyals." And he ran to his friend.
E ele foi correndo falar com seu amigo.
He said, "You bought a house for $5, I get double the price, and you give it to me for 10 riyals."
Você comprou uma casa por R$5, eu te pago o dobro, eu te pago R$10 por essa casa.
The friend said, "Why should I give you? You go and buy your own."
Por que eu deveria lhe dar essa casa? Você vai lá e compra a sua própria casa.
So he took 5 riyals with him and went back to the beach.
Ele pegou R$5 e foi correndo de volta para a praia.
The holy man was still making more sand houses.
E o homem santo ainda estava lá fazendo casas, castelos de areia.
He said, "I want to buy a house."
E ele disse para ele, eu quero comprar uma casa.
The holy man said, "Did you pay the price?"
E ele disse para ele, você vai pagar o preço?
He said, "I've got 5 riyals."
Ele disse, eu tenho R$5.
Holy man said, "The price is 5,000 riyals."
E o homem santo disse, o preço é R$5.000.
The child said, "How can there be so much inflation? Yesterday the price was 5 riyals. Today you made it 5,000 riyals."
Como pode haver tanta inflação? Ontem o preço era R$5 e hoje é R$5.000.
He said, "No, my child, it is not inflation.
E ele disse para a criança, não, isso não é uma inflação.
Your friend bought the house without having seen it.
O seu amigo comprou a casa sem tê-la visto.
You have come after seeing the house.
E você está comprando depois de tê-la visto.
Your friend bought the house on faith,
Seu amigo comprou a casa com fé.
and you are buying it after seeing it.
E você está comprando depois de tê-la visto.
When you buy something on faith, it is 1,000 times cheaper.
Quando você compra alguma coisa com fé, ela é 1000 vezes mais barata.
Just a story to tell us the importance of faith.
Isso é uma história para dizer o tanto que a fé é importante.
Faith starts by trust.
A fé, ela começa através da confiança.
If we don't even trust our own experience, we can make no progress.
Se não confiamos na nossa própria experiência, é impossível fazer progresso.
We should have faith in our own experiences.
Deveríamos ter fé na nossa própria experiência.
There are experiences like awakening on which we don't need faith, they are real experiences.
Há experiências no despertar que são reais.
When we awaken to a different experience, which is not physical, we should have faith it was a real experience.
Quando despertamos a outra experiência que não é física, deveríamos ter fé nessa experiência.
That way we get more spiritual experiences.
Dessa forma, nós teremos mais experiências espirituais.
I would like to end this session here.
Eu gostaria de terminar essa sessão.
I have spent a good 3 days with you.
Eu passei muitos bons dias com vocês.
I have enjoyed your company.
Eu gostei muito da sua companhia.
During personal interviews, I have met some of you,
Durante os encontros pessoais, eu conheci alguns de vocês.
and I'm delighted that so many of you, even in short meditation sessions, had new experiences.
E eu apreciei muito que mesmo no pouco de meditação, alguns de vocês tiveram experiências.
I know you are very dedicated and you have love and devotion.
Eu sei que vocês são muito dedicados e têm amor e devoção.
I know if you give attention to this subject, you will make great progress.
E eu sei que vocês colocarem atenção nesse assunto, vocês farão um grande progresso.
And you have the same opportunity for God realization that I or anybody else had.
Vocês têm a mesma oportunidade para a realização de Deus quanto eu ou qualquer outra pessoa.
Take advantage of this opportunity in your human life.
Tire vantagem dessa oportunidade na sua vida humana.
I would now like to give you what we call prashad.
Eu agora gostaria de lhes dar aquilo que nós chamamos de prashad.
Prashad is blessed food.
Prashad é uma comida abençoada.
It can be any small item that we can eat,
Pode ser qualquer pequeno item para comer,
but we invoke the blessings of saints,
mas nós invocamos a bênção de santos.
so that when we eat, we think of those saints.
E quando nós a comemos, nós pensamos nesses santos.
And therefore, we come back on track on our spiritual path.
E isso nos faz ficar na estrada do nosso caminho espiritual.
Eating prashad is a good way of remembering God,
Comer prashad é uma boa forma de lembrar a Deus,
because it is blessed in the name of God by a saint.
porque ela é abençoada no nome de Deus por um santo.
The prashad I will be sharing with you will be with the blessings of my own master, the Saint Baba Sawan Singh.
O prashad que vou compartilhar com vocês está sendo abençoado pelo meu mestre Baba Sawan Singh.
I'll invoke his blessings, and therefore it will become blessings of a saint.
Eu vou invocar as suas bênçãos e, portanto, será bênçãos de um santo.
I would like to come down personally and hand over prashad to you individually.
Eu gostaria de poder ir a cada um de vocês pessoalmente lhe dar esse prashad.
But at my age and health, I hope you don't mind if you can come up to me.
Mas com a minha idade e a minha condição de saúde, espero que vocês não se importem de vir um a um até a mim.
So if you can come to me one by one, I will
Então,
give the prashad.
então, se vocês puderem vir a mim um a um, eu vou dar esse prashad.
So we'll bring the prashad up here. I can take
Yes.
a little chair there.
Yes.
It'll be easier for people to come and take
Yes.
it. Let's try today meditation behind the eyes with love and devotion, where you visualize your beloved